Welcome to the Behind the Bits podcast. Your host, Scott Curtis, wants to learn everything he can about stand-up comedy and take you along for the ride. Scott and his guests talk serious about comedy in every episode. Behind the Bits will uncover knowledge from different perspectives on subjects such as writing and performing stand-up comedy, as well as booking shows and the comedy life. If you're thinking about becoming a stand-up comic, already in the comic game, or a comedy nerd, Behind the Bits is the show for you. Now, let's get Behind the Bits.
Hey, BTB buddies, I wanted to let you know that I have a Patreon page now so that you can support the show. Check out patreon.com/BTBPC and check out the cool stuff you can get for as little as $2 per month. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks, as always, for listening. With me today, I've got Jeff Bodart, who has been a comic for a long time, and I'm going to move you over there to the guest spot, and
sure,
and has writes for Bob and Tom, and has at least 2 albums out that I know of that I listened to today and are fantastic. And I've been thinking about having you on for quite a while. And not only that, but you made this picture. Get my hand right. You drew this picture right behind me of Dean Martin, and we didn't talk about it beforehand, but I do what's called the BTB Internet Talk Show, and I do that every Thursday night, and Dean Martin shows up every Thursday night, and so I put the hat on, and hey, I'm Dean Martin. I know I don't sound like him, but I am him. And then I take the hat off, and I become myself. So it's... Your picture, when you posted that link, was just absolutely perfect for the whole setting of my show. So it works out
wonderful.
great. Yeah.
By the way, that was dead on, by the way. It was like it was like I was at the Sands and I was seeing Dean there, and Sammy was going to come out in a little bit, and they were going to make fun of his one eye.
Yep.
So.
I've actually watched footage of him trying to get better, and I think it's better when I'm worse, so I'm just going to keep up the way it is.
That's it's a good plan.
Yeah. So we call this live part the rapid round, and this is where I ask you what I call the Entertainment Tonight style questions that everybody would ask you if you're on a podcast. And then we go off live so that I can ask you the real questions, and everybody has to subscribe to the Behind the Bits podcast in order to hear the real story. So
perfect.
Let's get started.
Yeah.
I already know where you're from. So tell me a little bit about Columbus, Indiana. What was it like growing up in Columbus, and is it the 6th best architecture city for architecture?
Yes, 6th ranked city in the country for architecture, and it's a beautiful town. I mean, they call it Athens on the Prairie, is what they call it. I think maybe Time Magazine called it that one time once. But they and by the way, I joke about this on stage, but that 6th ranked city thing. That was in like 1993 or 4, and apparently they've never done another survey. So I don't know.
Well, that means
Columbus is going to stick to that one.
Yeah, that means you're still on top. If they haven't done it, then it's still number 6.
Yeah.
I really like that town, and I told you before we went on air that both my kids went to IU, and when we were late in getting a hotel in Bloomington, we'd either stay in Columbus or Martinsville. Now, Columbus is a little bit further of a drive, but it's a much nicer stay because Martinsville. And so Columbus is actually a pretty cool little city. And it's funny, I go past it quite a bit because my son lives in Huntsville, Alabama. So we go past it, and I remember it fondly. So that's a nice little city.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's been it is truly, what do they call it? Crossroads of America, Indiana is, because as far as comedy goes, I was close to Cincinnati, Chicago, and Louisville, Indy, of course, places in other places in Ohio, other places, it's really convenient.
Right.
So,
yeah. You can get a lot of stage time being where you are and not have to drive like all night. So that's great.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful little town, so I went to Catholic school. So a nice little here. And so I don't know. I mean, there's some famous people are from here. I mean, there's and one marginally famous person from here, which is me. We have Tony Stewart's from here. The 4 freshmen are from here. Or at least 2 out of the 4. I don't know if you remember the 4 freshmen singing group. There's a vice president from here. So
cool. Which vice?
Yeah. Mike Pence.
Oh, okay. Okay, enough for that.
I don't talk about him too much. That's why I said a vice president.
Yeah, I knew I shouldn't have dug. So when did you start doing stand-up, Jeff?
February 19th, 2001.
Holy cow.
Yeah. It's been it'll be 20 years, in February.
So what brought you to doing stand-up? What was it that prompted that for you?
I was always a funny kid, and I think I was held back in the 3rd grade, and I think humor is what really helped me kind of cope with being. It was awkward, You're sort of the new kid, but you're not at the same time. Because the new kids don't know you, right. And I think I kind of became sillier then. Just sort of, I was nervous, I think, and then that just, I guess, is in my personality. So, and then I just love being funny, love making people laugh. I remember I got my first big laugh from not just my friends, but the whole class. 5th or 6th grade, it was religion class, and I said something about why do poor people have more kids than rich people? And then I said, is there nothing else to do? And then got a big laugh, and I didn't even. I kind of knew what I said, but I was also like, really? I was curious.
Yeah. But
also trying to be funny at the same time. So it got a big laugh. I was like, yeah, I don't know why I remember that, but it really stuck out in my mind.
Yeah. That's funny because your act is a lot of, so you've got set up and punch, but you also got what a lot of people would call the throwaway line. And
I love those.
The throwaway line is really, for you, it's the total punctuation. It's funnier than the punch sometimes. And,
yes.
And the way you fell into that first laugh is kind of like how you do your act. And that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one line I do, like that whole, when if I disagree with I disagree, circle gets a square.
Yeah.
And then I don't even call to it. I just, whoever gets it, gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
just a nice reference to Hollywood Square.
Yeah. I really like how you do that. And I'm going to dig into your second album a little bit more when we go off live, so people have to listen to it. But it was, there was a couple things I really liked about it. So who were your comedy influences?
As a kid, I have to say, I liked Bill Cosby as a kid. Yeah. I saw Bill Cosby himself, and I thought that was pretty funny and silly. And then I discovered, in high school, I discovered Brian Regan.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, Brian Regan, he was a man. He's still hilarious. And then I got into, as I got older, and I figured I discovered Louis C.K., Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr. I love Kathleen Madigan, such a smart ass, so funny. There's a lot of those. But yeah, I think in the last several years, it's probably been, Bill Burr. I just love that attitude. Oh, yeah. I'm not angry like that.
Yeah.
I think I get comically angry. So when I get angry, my voice goes up.
Right.
And people think, it's kind of a joke, but I'm also, sometimes when I do get angry, it just goes up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and some of the other guys working the road today, like Chad Daniels, I think is brilliant. Should be a household name. I don't know if you know Chad, but
I know that name.
Yeah. So, and Ryan Hamilton, I think is hilarious too.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of guys working today. They're so funny. A lot of comics.
I'm taking notes.
No, no problem.
I got to remember who to peg for the podcast.
Mm-hmm. And you know who I'm getting into is Nikki Glaser. I think she's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't always relate always, but she's real sharp.
Yeah.
And I love that. And she also does the throwaway lines.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think are hilarious. And I think, and I've seen Amy Schumer live. I thought she was pretty funny. So
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good ones out. I wondered if you were influenced at all, since you're an Indiana guy, with David Letterman.
Yeah, I love how Dave is a smartass and he's wacky at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can pull it, but like the stuff he would pull on the show, you know, like in the old days, like he had a convertible full of tacos, just giving tacos away, and like that's so silly.
Yeah,
you know, I'm like that's kind of the stuff that I'm kind of into. Like I actually went to a McDonald's years ago and I ordered an ice cream and I said, hold the, no pickles. And she goes, on what? And I go, the ice cream? And I was just with a friend. I just wanted to make her laugh. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the way some of your delivery reminds me a little bit of Letterman when he was first doing stand-up. So I wondered about that. Yeah. And the funny thing is a lot of the wacky stuff that was on the show, a lot of that was Meryl Marco. She was actually the wacky one of the bunch. Dave was not wacky.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he could be, but a lot of that stuff came from Meryl. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
This is one I just like to ask anybody I'm talking to. Have you been inspired by any books that you're reading, music that you're listening to, podcast, magazine, anything? Have you read? Have you consumed anything that kind of lit off a light bulb for you?
I read for a long time. I read almost like every comedian's book. Like I read the one with Bernie Mac. Mm-hmm. I read his book, and I read the unauthorized biography of Seinfeld, and I thought that was brilliant. Mm-hmm. It was just interesting to know. And I always, for a long time, even, starting out more than anything, I would read all these comics books to sort of compare myself to like what they were at that level and what I am at that level. Where should I be? And that sort of helped. And there's always all kinds of books as far as getting inspired. I mean, Judy Carter's book, The Comedy Bible, that helped a lot. Mm. As far as, I do listen to a ton of podcasts, but nothing that would necessarily inspire.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of paranormal stuff too. So I'm into that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So that's a lot of that lately.
Okay.
But there's a book called The Tender Bar, and that was it's by J.R. Moehringer, and it's been out for a while. It's been out for at least 10 years. Mm-hmm. But I believe he was a writer for, I think, the Baltimore Sun. I think that's one, right? Mm-hmm. Around there. But anyway, he grew up with the dad that wasn't around. Not like my childhood, but his dad was in radio, and my dad was in radio. Mm-hmm. And so, he didn't really know his dad very well, but he used to turn the radio on and flip to the stations to figure out what station his dad had just switched to.
So he could see his dad. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I've always remembered that book. So it's been a good book.
That's cool. What would you consider to be, we'll go top three, your top three comedy specials, albums, Netflix, whatever way you consume it. What would be your top three, do you think?
Right away, Kevin James' Don't Sweat the Small Stuff is in there. Mm-hmm. I think that is so, because he's silly, and I just love silly, and he's also a smart ass. Mm-hmm. And I think that's hilarious. I think that's up there. Top three, I don't know. Bill Cosby himself, like I said earlier, that was a really funny special as a kid. Mm-hmm. And I would probably have to say Bill Burr's latest special is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I mean, I love Dave Chappelle, but Bill Burr, I kind of think it edges Dave's special out a little bit.
Yeah.
But with all due respect to Dave, Bill Burr is so funny.
Yeah, I think they're both right there. Like this, it depends on what day I'm listening to them. But Bill
Mm-hmm.
Burr's is so funny because it just gets me keyed up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm tense because I'm listening to everything he's saying and I'm feeling like I'm being transformed into Bill Burr while he's doing that. And
Yeah.
I'm laughing, but I'm pissed off at the same time. So it's
Yeah. And Gaffigan's Comedy Central Presents years ago was
Yeah.
I always remember that as being, and I watched that. And I love that just because he was from Indiana.
Yeah.
And I was like, look at that, a guy from Indiana can do it.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
there've been several who've done it.
Yeah.
Who've made it.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. So this is really the end of the rapid round, but while I've got tens of watchers, would you do you have anything that you'd like to plug, or can you direct anybody to your social media?
Yeah, jeffbodart.com is my website. I need to update it, to be honest. But I'm all over Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is at Jeff Bodart. And I sell a lot of drawings.
Yeah.
Well, not enough to buy a bigger house. But so that's Jeff Bodart Art. That's on. There you go.
There we
go.
go.
Look at that. I sell a lot of drawings, and then I also have a little. I make and sell wands, like magic wands, called Tarbo wands. So look those up. TARBO. So a little.
I actually looked at a few of those this morning, and those are pretty cool. I don't want one, but they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you either want one or you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people. I mean, I can tell you, not a lot of people in the market for a wand.
Yeah,
but they're fun to make. It's a nice creative outlet. So.
Yeah, actually, before I go off live, how do you do that? Is that like a whittling, or do you use a Dremel tool, or what do you do with that?
Yeah, I whittle, use a pocket knife, and yeah, it's the Andy Griffith Show. I don't know if you guys know, it's the Andy Griffith Show around here. But I use a Dremel.
Okay,
I'm using my and then just kind of shapes it. And a lot of people say, "Why don't you use a lathe?" Can't use a lathe; they look too good.
Yeah,
they look too good.
Right.
The things that are kind of the flaws are what makes them perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, in my opinion,
right.
And I honestly kind of let the wood tell me which way it wants to go, like the grain, and if it's got a curve to it.
Right.
So,
right.
They're fun. It's just a great creative outlet, and if somebody likes it, and then I'll sell it to you.
Great, and I'll pop those links up when we put this podcast out too.
Yeah, you pop those up.
Talking about getting on stage that first time in 2001, was that like an open mic situation, or what kind of a situation was that?
Yeah, it was an open mic, and I'd been talking about it for a long time. I started writing jokes in college just to see if I could even write a joke. Mm-hmm. And because I was funny in the moment, but it's different than, actually writing stuff. So I started writing stuff, got some books and figured out kind of like, oh, okay, this is the structure. This is how to do it. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend of mine read it, and that actually went on for a couple of years. And then when I got a job at a newspaper in 1999, and I actually graduated college in 99, but I got a job a few months later after I graduated. And then I met a friend of mine there, talked to him about comedy and everything. And then I talked to him about comedy for like 2 years. And he finally just said, will you, by the way, I can't remember. Can I curse?
Yep.
Okay. He said, will you quit fucking talking about it and go do it? Cause you're pissing me off.
Yeah.
And I said, fine, I'll go do it, asshole. So I did it. I called around. One club said they don't have an open mic night. They said, try Crackers. So I tried Crackers Comedy Club, and the guy's like, yeah, you can go up this Monday night if you want. And I go, give me a second, give me like a week or two. Uh-huh. And he goes, and he starts laughing, and he goes, okay. So he signs me up, and then I get up there and I practice 6 minutes of material. And they said, oh, no, you're actually doing 3. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I practiced 6, so I don't know if I can do 3 now.
Yeah.
So I did 3, and the first 2 jokes sucked. And then I don't even know what I said, the third joke, but it got a huge laugh. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I get off stage to them. This is literally like cheering. And I'm like, oh, this is this is a really good feeling. I don't think I want to stop this. So I tell everybody like that 3 minutes changed the direction of my whole life.
Wow.
So it was like, I knew in that moment, like, this is exactly what I want to do.
You know,
I couldn't wait to get on stage again.
Yeah. It's funny. Almost everybody I talk to, when they talk about their first time, whether it was great or whether it was terrible, if they got any feedback at all, it seemed to hook them. And then they went on from there. And it's interesting that it hooks some people, and some people, they only have to do it once and then they're done. And some people will do it for 3 or 4 times and they're done. But, you know, it takes a certain type of person to say, hey, this is what I want to do right after that first time.
Yeah. It's just one of those feelings, like, it's just making a group of strangers laugh at something that you wrote, and sometimes even that day that you wrote, and like, yeah, I said, it's indescribable. I mean, performers know that feeling, but you know.
So how many open mics, as far as time wise, how many open mics did you do after that one?
I did them a lot. I did them for a few years, but I got my first paid booking like 6 or 9 months after I started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it was like, and then I would get other paid stuff, and then kind of just, and I started emceeing at Crackers. I started emceeing like, I mean, a year, 9 months, you know, after I started. Okay. And then I emceed for a long time. But then in 2002, one of those, I got my first feature spot, which I should not have been. I should not have been booked as a feature, but you take the gig. Yeah. Because you're excited. Yeah,
no doubt.
And it's opportunity.
Yeah.
And it was in Lansing, Michigan. I remember that. It was Tripper's Sports Bar, the Comedy Zone booking. And it was like, I think it was 2003, because 2002 I went to Milwaukee. It was like, start getting all this work, and I'm like, and other people were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. I just they wanted me to come do a show, so I did a show." So I don't know. I'm learning just like you.
Yeah, no doubt.
So and then it just kind of took off. Then there was a time I almost feel like I was in a bit of a rut in like 2006, 2007. And it was around the time I was like, I needed to have an honest discussion with myself. Like, because I wasn't working hard at it. I mean, I was working hard at writing and stuff, but I wasn't working hard at like getting work. In the beginning, I just sort of got stuff. And then I told myself, you really have to, if you want this, you have to like work hard. You have to work at it. You can't just, but you don't know. I mean, you don't always know those things.
Right.
So, and I looked up in a book how to email people, but that's when I was sending tapes back then. Yeah. I was sending VHS tapes. Yeah. Thinking that, so.
Aren't you glad you don't have to do that anymore?
Oh my God. I remember I was at my parents' house, and my mom's like, are you done tying up these 2 VCRs? Because we really need to get this back in order. And it was like, 2002, 2003.
Yeah, that's
so. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah. Backing up to that first 6 or 9 months before you started getting paying gigs, but you decided you wanted to do this. Did that open up the writing floodgates for you to where you were writing a lot of stuff because you knew that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think it helped free up any sort of confusion, and so I was less stressed about going back and forth or anything. But it was pretty immediate. Like, this is what I want to do, and then I think a lot of comics in the beginning write more than what they do like 20 years later. I mean, I don't write as much. I should write more, but it's different. It's a different process. Yeah. So I used to sit down with a blank screen and just start writing, and now it's a little different process. But yeah, I think I write. I mean, at that point, I was writing a ton. I was writing and because you're exploring stuff, really, right? And when you're into it longer, you kind of have an identity of what you are, or what your character is, or what you want to write about. And so it's a little different.
So thinking about that first feature that you did, first off, how did that go for you? The one,
the first show scared to death. Because I was emceeing for, a couple of years, and I thought, okay, well, I've been doing 15 minutes of emceeing every show. I probably have plenty of material, and it was, but I had never done it all at once. And then when I got on stage for that first show, I was supposed to do 30 minutes. I think I did 20. Oh, it was probably 27 or 28 minutes, but it was a stretch.
Yeah.
and I was like, oh man, this is hard. And then I learned immediately, like I went through my whole act, all my notebooks. I gleaned any sort of material that I had ever said that got a laugh. And so I think I was able to do it where I got really good laughs for like, again, 20 some minutes. But then I had done so much crowd work as an MC, because as an MC, they told me to do crowd work. Yeah. They trained you how to do crowd work. That's when they actually had people training you to be an MC.
Yeah.
And so I knew I was able to do crowd work. So I put that in the middle and put the material on the front and back end and kind of filled in the middle. But I learned a ton that week, of how to do it, how, everything. It was trial by fire, so to speak.
It's funny that everybody I talk to, well, not everybody, but I think you're probably my 40th or 41st interview. And a lot of comics get thrown or offered something that they weren't ready for. And they, because of that, it tends to help them out, actually, if you come through it well on the other side. I think a few of them, it may have set them back a little bit because they lost some confidence because it didn't go well. But it's funny. A lot of comics who are successful enough that they can make their living at it have gotten pushed into something that they weren't quite ready for and took it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I tell take it. If comics, I mean, if it, if you get a spot on TV, maybe rethink it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like Seinfeld didn't take the first or even second or third Tonight Show offers.
Right.
And that takes some guts. That takes some courage.
Yep.
To do that. But I tell, as far as like feature weeks, if it's at a bar somewhere and we'll go do it. You never know, gonna know. Just figure it out.
Yep.
That's how you do it. People, want to like, oh, can you coach me? He's like, well, just get on stage.
Yeah. Tell jokes.
Yep. Yeah. Just try it. See what happens. See what's good for you.
So how would you say you progressed? How different do you think you are now as a performer, as far as your stage persona, your jokes and stuff like that, from that first time that you featured?
I am much more of a natural smartass than I was in the beginning. And honestly, I'm a bit dirtier. Probably a bit dirtier. Just, I was trying to write so clean back in the day. And now I'm trying to write, like go back to that a little bit and write a little, cleaner. Because there's a lot more appeal. You have a broader appeal when you're just a bit cleaner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I've developed a bit of that smart ass. I didn't have that whole throwaway line stuff in the beginning, but you learn like, oh, it's fun, and it just sort of naturally came out.
Right.
And developed. But yeah, I think I'm a bit sharper.
Yeah.
Because the stuff I was talking about then, I don't talk about, I was talking about hell. I was talking about SAT scores and,
right.
College stuff. So, I don't, you get to your 40s, you're like, there's a lot more, you're talking about mortgages and, colonoscopies or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
No doubt.
But dating, you still got to talk about dating. That's a standard.
thinking about those throwaway lines because I was just so impressed by the way you do it. And I felt like, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the last album, the one in 2018. What was the name of that?
Adorable and Affordable.
Yeah. So you had a line in there, and you actually had several lines. I was disappointed in the audience a little bit. I don't think they laughed.
Me too.
Yeah, they laughed, but I didn't feel like they just totally immersed themselves into the hour of comedy that you did.
Mm-hmm.
But you had such a brilliant throwaway line. You were talking about underdeveloped nations, and they say, "Oh no, we are developed. This is as far as we're going to go." And then on the backside of it, we moved this rock over here, and then we moved it over here. We're done. And I was just, I'm in the car, and took a drink of Diet Pepsi, and I just spit it out because I thought that was hilarious. And then I rewound it, didn't rewind it. I was on Spotify, but I went back. And the crowd just didn't. I don't think that they reacted like they should have. It was a much better line.
Yeah. They didn't quite get it. I don't think it was the whole joke about they didn't like being called under. I don't know. I mean, it's been a while. If you don't like being called underdeveloped or something like that. It's like, well, no, this is it. We're done. This is as far as we're gonna go.
Yeah.
We moved that rock from. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to do the bit. I was just trying to remember.
Yeah.
Because I haven't done that bit a lot. Because I think I stopped doing it after that recording. Because I was like, man, they just didn't like that. You know?
Yeah.
Well, there was a couple of bits on there that I really liked. That's why I kept it on there. I was like, I really like these, but but I don't want to. I was like, they offered to sweeten it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like sweeten the laugh a little bit. And I was like, no, just leave it on there.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, I thought it was really well put together, and I like that you don't really need transitions so much because you're kind of a storyteller and also talking about your life in general. And I just felt like and really the 2012 album flowed well too. It was just good. The Lutherans versus the Catholics, I thought was just hilarious. And so I really like that, and I don't know how you developed that throwaway line. I mean, can you think back to the first time that really worked for you?
I think I had said something about, and it's a line I still kind of do. It was just a moment of honesty, and that I had on stage about talking about somebody. It's like, you know what, I don't really like you. Or something like that. It was one of those. It was like, oh my God, you're so great, or like, oh, you know what, I don't like you. Yeah, it's just kind of a throwaway line. Yeah, that it was kind of like that. And I do similar things now. Like, I figured out people like I love Rickles too. And Rickles was like insulting. Yeah, but he also kind of had that throwaway thing. Yeah, and I wasn't consciously trying to do Rickles. No, like, but you can. But I think that had some influence in there too. I don't necessarily know how it kind of happened because that's just I started doing that, and then I would write the bit, like I would write it out. I would know how I'm going to say it. I know I at least got two punchlines in there, and then I would do it on stage, and then I would throw in an extra line. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? But it was always under my breath. Yeah. It was almost like I was mocking myself a little bit. Yeah. But I kind of learned that people like those little things, because like that's almost like the truth. Yeah. Are those throwaways. Right. Whereas the punchline is different. Yeah. So. And I don't know why it draws me in, and it reminds me a little bit of Gaffigan when he does the audience voice. Oh, yeah. Why did he say it? But it's actually... It's turned around because it's you making an observation on what you just said or the feeling that you just put forth. So I don't know. I didn't know much about you before I listened to those specials or those albums, and it's just the way I am. And I was just like, holy cow! I haven't heard anybody do it quite like you do it. And as a depth. So I was very impressed. I looked back at my act and I've got like one throwaway line. And so I'm going to try to pepper that a little bit and be a little bit better at it. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to point them out when you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah, but it's just a great punctuation on something that had a great punchline anyway. So I'm
Thank you.
very impressed by that.
Thank you.
Let's talk about when you decided that was the 2012 album your first album?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about when you decided to make that album. What circumstances came about that you decided you wanted to do an album? Because I know it's a little bit different putting out an album in 2012 versus 2018.
Oh, yeah.
In 2018, you probably didn't even print very many CDs or anything like that. Whereas in
I got a box of them right there.
Yeah. So
yeah.
In 2012, you probably had more boxes because that used to be a thing to sell them after the show. But what circumstances came about that you wanted to record that album?
Well, a friend of mine, Matt Holt, had recorded with a company called On Tour Records.
Okay.
And he introduced me to Ross Duncliffe. And Ross Duncliffe is the owner of On Tour Records. And then Ross came up and said, do you want to, Matt told me you're pretty funny. And it's like, do you want to record an album? And I had wanted to, I just didn't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully to Ross, he did all the sound and everything. And they just kind of put it in the soundboard, but they also mic'd the crowd and stuff like that. And he just kind of approached me one, do you want to be a part of the On Tour Records family? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. I mean, nobody else is asking. So I did it, and it, didn't do anything necessarily. Like I didn't sell a ton of them, but it was fun to do. I like the process. And then I was like, okay, all right. And actually motivated me to come up with a bunch of new stuff. And so I threw away a bunch of material a long time ago and then worked on what is now like the 2018 album. And now I'm in the process of throwing away more stuff because I'm not a guy who likes to I don't want to do a new album or a new hour every year. It takes a while to even come up with an hour.
Yeah, no doubt.
And not even to come up with it, but to perfect it the way you want to say it. So because I still do jokes from my Adorable, obviously do my bunch of stuff from the Adorable Affordable album, but I've actually added on to stuff. And there's a whole bit on, I don't remember which one it is, but I've done like a whole extra, it's almost like 2 bits now, but you can't do it one without the other.
Yeah.
So now, I kind of want to do that, but I'm like, I spent time, probably I should have come up with brand new material that's not linked to the other stuff, but the way my brain works, it's like, well, I'm just going to keep adding on to this.
Yeah.
But as far as going back to your question, but like the 2012 came out, and then I told Ross that I wanted to do another album, and he said great. And actually this time I had a friend of mine who is he records bands and stuff. He's like, do you want me to record your album? And he did a tremendous job and recorded my 2018 album at the it's now closed, but the Harlequin Theater here in Columbus. So a friend of mine owns that. So, but yeah, and I was kind of working on, a third album before Rona hit. And I was like, and then I had a bunch of stuff, and I was like, well, maybe I should take this time to work on, different additional stuff, additional material. So I've kind of been inspired since for a while during quarantine, didn't have anything to do. So, wrote stuff.
Yeah. It's funny because listening to the 2012 album and the 2018 album back to back, like I did today, is a lot of comics I listen to. Like, for instance, I listened to Dan Cummins' albums in order. I went from first to last. And when you go from first to last, it's a totally different person. I mean, he was much better, much more polished. You pretty much had it going on in the 2012 album. I mean, I think you were better in the 2018 album. I think all the material, your delivery, you were more confident. I felt like your speaking voice was a little bit better in 2018. So all that was better. However, it wasn't even though it was a 6-year jump, it was not what I would think a 6-year. You weren't 6 years worse in 2012. So I felt like you pretty much were who you were in 2012, and you up the ante a little bit in 2018. So it was, I'm not used to that. I'm used to people doing an album before they're ready, and it totally sucks. And then, but it's always out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. What first album did you start with on Dan Cummins?
What's it called?
Because he had one that didn't get a wide release.
So the first one I could find on Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's quite a bit back there.
Yeah, he was a guitar comic first.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, he had an album called Lower Your Goals.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm adjusting my laptop here.
That's cool.
But yeah, he had an album called Lower Your Goals. It's funny, I did the cover for that.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Can you send him a message and tell him to stop dodging me to be on the podcast, because I've been working on him for 6 months, and and I first off I got his assistant who blew me off, and this was before Rona, and then I started stalking him a little bit on Twitter and his Facebook page. The funny thing is he put out a vinyl of his last album, and the guys who made that, Romanus Records, are friends of mine.
Okay.
Chris, who runs Romanus, whatever. So I got into a conversation with Chris and him on one of his posts. I'm like, come on, let's do this. And so that hasn't happened yet, but I think he's launched like 2 new podcasts in that time. So,
he's been busy, and his albums are hilarious.
Oh yeah. He's one of my favorites as far as, just throwing it out there. I mean, it's just, he talks about everything the way he sees it. And I like his original podcast too, the Time Suck. So.
Oh, Time Suck's great. Yeah. And, I listened to that one and Scared to Death. And then, does he have a third one? I can't remember if he has a third one or not, but
he's doing a third one with his assistant, actually, and I don't remember the name of it, but it just started like maybe a month ago, so they probably only got a couple episodes out.
Yeah,
but I have
a podcast, but I haven't put any episodes up for a long time, but it kind of makes you think.
Okay,
but it's a paranormal podcast.
Yeah, okay. I found a guy podcasting. It's called Mind Dog TV, and he actually records probably 14 a week. He records in the morning and at night. He interviewed me, and he had it ready like the next day. It was uploaded and all done. And so,
wow.
He's a beast, and he talks to a lot of paranormal people because he had a paranormal podcast prior to that. So he gets a lot of the same people on. So that might be one you might want to check out. He also talks to like Christian authors, and he had Doug Stanhope on a couple times. And so, he goes all over the board, but if you find one that you like, you'll like that one, and maybe not necessarily the next one. So it kind of depends.
Yeah.
So after putting out this 2018 album, at what point did you start writing for Bob and Tom?
I started writing for Bob and Tom in actually 2014.
2014. Okay.
Yeah. And, I had actually just, because I had been on the show, several times. I was on the show, first in 2004. Again, shouldn't have been, but I was, but, and then I'd been on a lot after that. And then I just emailed Tom a joke. And I said, hey, by the way, here's a joke you can use if you want. And he liked it. He goes, hey, do you want to start writing for the show? And I said, sure. So it's been fun. I mean, it's interesting to write for something like that because it's a different voice than your own. So you learn a lot, and we had a lot of writers meetings, and that was fun. And you learn a lot in those, and different personalities, how people think and how they write, and you sort of adapt to a group setting, which is interesting and fun for me because I hadn't had that experience a lot, really writing in a group. But I loved that. I mean, I still love that, contributing and throwing in a line and like, or what about this? And you know, I love that collaborative effort there, writing. So.
I've actually gotten into that a little bit more since the Rona. I've gotten into a few writing workshops where we work some stuff out, and I thought that was I had never done that before, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
and writing stuff that you weren't going to write about. Like I had to do a piece on Monopoly, and
interesting.
And it was neat, and then you get feedback, and people do other stuff like that. So I thought that was really fun, and I imagine that writing for that show was probably both challenging because, I mean, you got to do everything topical, obviously. And then you've got a lot of different characters on the show. Bob was a lot different than Tom. And you got to decide which one you're going to go towards for your writing. But thinking about that group that you were writing with, I'm sure Brent Terhune was in there with you, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed him a while back. And when you're writing in a group like that, how does it start? I mean, do you start with like the news, or what do you start with?
Depends on what we're writing for, but like if we were doing like a character thing, we'd be like, who's got an idea, or if it was even just a brand new thing at all, you know, what do you got? And then we just all kind of worked on it at once. So like I, you know, had an idea, threw it out, and we all kind of worked on it. And I mean, it was one of those things. It's just whoever's got something going. And I took notes to myself, and I said, hey, I don't write songs, but I got an idea for a song, and I recorded what, you know, I thought it should sound like, and you know, we kind of talked about that. So I had one thing. I wrote a Mr. Obvious thing, and they didn't use it, but I thought it was kind of funny. I don't know if I should give it away, but it had to do with massage parlors, massage therapy, and message therapy.
Okay.
So somebody thought it said message therapy, but
I like that. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So when you're putting the Bob and Tom thing on your resume, what did that do for you as far as getting booked and stuff?
It helped just being on the show. I mean, being a writer for them helps, you know, helps. It kind of makes you, you know, kind of puts a little bit of a, I don't know, importance, I guess, to you, but being on the show, but having that sort of, it's almost a little bit of a name recognition. I'm not a name guy, but I still have people come up, you know, some come up and say, oh my God, I listened to you on the show. I've been listening for a long time, and I always love hearing you on there. I like that. And that kind of pulls in some people here and there. And then that whole turducken thing happened on the show. And I thought it was funny. That worked out. And I was fake mad, you know, on the show. I don't really care. I thought it was silly. But it's funnier to stand by the bit and to act fake mad. Yeah. It gets the laugh. So I don't know if you heard that bit, but on there, but,
I don't think I did, but my wife listens religiously, so I'm sure she can tell me about it.
So that was the whole thing, and then people come out and like, turducken, you know, like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But I don't, you know, it's fine. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
But that Bob and Tom, I'm so sorry, I'm adjusting again.
That's okay.
But I'm so thankful to being a part of that show and being on the show, and it's helped so much. And Tom has always been such a good guy to me, just so helpful and nice. And I can't thank him enough. And you know, Chick is such a good guy. And I mean, that whole group, I mean, there's so good chemistry, such good chemistry in that room. And, you know, I don't, if you don't listen, you should. I mean, Josh offers so much to that room too.
Yeah.
He helps a lot. So they all kind of work together.
It's funny. I lived in Indy in the 80s, in the mid 80s, and I don't think they were syndicated at all at that time. They were just in Indy.
Mm-hmm.
And
95 is when they got syndicated.
Okay. Yeah. So I managed a Farrell's restaurant, and you may not remember what Farrell's was, but it was an ice cream parlor, and it was it was at Washington Square Mall. I'm sure you remember that mall. And East Side, and it's not a very nice mall anymore, I guess. But anyway, I was right by a bank, so we opened at 10:30, and the bank was there, and I used to crank Bob and Tom on the PA, and they had this bit, Dick Nixon and Haji. If you, I mean, it's way back, and they did it for a long time, but I think I was there when they started it, and I was just laughing, and I had it too loud, and the people from the bank would come over and say, turn that down. The customers can hear it. But it was a lot of fun then. And, I got to the point, I don't know why I stopped listening. I think it's mostly because I listen to just about all audiobooks and podcasts now. So but the nice thing is they put their show out in podcast format now too. So I should pick that up a little bit more. And Christy Lee,
and you can listen a lot through the app too. So.
Yeah. So I got to get back into that. And my wife actually is, I think she pegged Tom for a show. I was doing a show with Tom Dreesen. I did a live thing for his new book, and she emailed Tom about it and didn't get a response. So we don't know if he watched or not. But
I don't know.
She's pushing me. Yeah.
Oh.
She's trying to get me in whatever so I can make podcasting and comedy my job instead of what I actually do. So yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have somebody encourage you all the time.
Yeah. She's my biggest cheerleader.
That's great.
Yeah. So you mentioned something that takes me back a little bit. I mean, you're a very good comic, and you are, before Rona, doing very well at it, but you're not famous. You're not a household name. And I've talked to a lot of comics. The purpose of this podcast is to talk to working comics who are actually, what I say, in the trenches doing the work. And I do work on trying to get in some people that are more famous so I can get better ratings or whatever.
Sure.
But the real thing, I like to talk to working comics, and I have seen so many of them, and then I do the research and listen to their stuff. And there are so many times that they are funnier than 80% of the stuff I watch on Netflix. I can't tell you how many times I have stopped a Netflix comedy special 10 minutes in and said, this is shit, and went on. And I won't say who it is, but Seinfeld's last one wasn't very good. I did watch all of it, but I didn't care for it. How do you, I mean, do you get a little bit of a chip on your shoulder when stuff like that happens? Or, what, I mean, you came to a pretty decent level fairly quickly, and then you're not, I mean, you don't have a TV show or anything like that. Does that put a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, do you think?
I think it does get there every once in a while, but I have to remind myself not to, because everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
And everybody gets things at different times. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But you have to adapt, and your goals sort of evolve. So, I mean, yeah, it'd be great to have a TV show and, whatever else. But at this point, I just enjoy working. I like having a full schedule. But yeah, sometimes you get a little like, oh my God, why did that guy get, why did that guy get on Last Comic Standing? Or why, how did he do that? Or, but then you have to take into consideration sometimes people just work harder. And sometimes people try to put themselves in situations. Like, for example, I had an audition for America's Got Talent. And I didn't show up because I got a booking, and so, because your chances are lower
Yeah.
at doing anything with America's Got Talent, and I just was like, well, this is a paycheck. So, but yeah, some people just are better at putting themselves in those situations and have, earned that because they've worked hard with that. And some guys, some comics moved to LA or New York and, I didn't.
Yeah.
So, I remind myself that they choose one thing, I choose a different thing. So it's not, so it probably in the beginning, it was probably a bigger chip than it is now. It's very minimal now. So, cause I'm happy, for the most part where I am. And, like I said, before the plague hit, I was working 40, 45 weeks a year.
Yeah.
And I was pretty happy with that. So, but I think things come to those who wait. I think that really is a thing.
Yeah.
So, but I'd like to go to LA and do some stuff, but I'll see what happens in a year or two with the plague.
Yeah.
And see where the comedy industry is, because a bunch of comics are leaving LA now. So because it's just too expensive. I mean, I just saw a friend of mine just tweeted the other day about how his rent in LA is like $3,200 a month. It's like, how are you how are you paying that? Oh my God. I mean, I own a house and it's like less than $600 a month.
Yeah. And you can't donate enough plasma to make that $3,200 payment. Yeah.
No, you can't.
You would die. So yeah. That's
what are you regrowing a liver and then, just donating part of a liver and regrow that? I think that does regrow, doesn't it?
I think so. If you leave enough on,
I'm trying to think of the one organ that grows back, and I was like, I think a liver kind of grows back.
Yeah. So one of the things I've noticed about you is you seem to have the respect of other comics, and
I hope.
And I think that's. I see comics who have a lot of fans, and I see comics who are just respected and even admired by other comics. And I wonder if that's because you have helped people along the way. And I'm this is just coming out of the blue, but you seem like the type of person who would help other people along the way. Is that something that has occurred with you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I try to get, if there's a chance I can get, a young comic to open. When I say young comic, I mean a beginning comic.
Yeah.
I just try to get somebody to open for me or whatever. Cause I was given those opportunities, so I like to help, I want to help out young comics and get them some stage time and get them some money if I can. And, so yeah, I enjoy that. And, I try not to offer any sort of like, unasked for advice.
Yeah.
Because that always kind of irritated me coming up, even though I know people were just trying to help. It's like I think I probably had a chip on my shoulder in general.
Yeah. Jeff, can I give you some notes? Can I give you some notes on that set? And
like, how dare you give me notes?
No.
But like I like giving tags.
Yeah.
To stuff. So let me tag that bit for you.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I like helping young comics.
Yeah. It just seems that you've got some you've got some respect in the community, and that you don't always get that. And
right.
And I think that's a nice thing, because First off, it helps because one of those people you helped may end up being the next big star, and they bring it along with them. But just being a nice person also helps too, because it makes your life better. So,
yeah, Conan O'Brien said that when he lost the Tonight Show.
Yeah,
and he was talking about that last episode. He was like, if you're just a nice guy, you're gonna get it. It's I got that meant a lot. I mean, I enjoyed hearing him say that.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that struck me, and it's got to be true because you said it in your act, that you're colorblind.
Mm-hmm.
And It's so weird. I don't know how many colorblind people are artistic. I mean, you did this thing, and I mean, you do those really nice pencil drawings, and you do the wands and stuff like that.
Mhm.
How do you feel that the whole artist part of yourself came about? Did that come earlier or when?
Oh yeah, I was drawing as a very little kid.
Uh,
I mean, I remember tracing stuff as a kid, and then I want to learn how to actually draw it, and so then I've just always drawn,
mhm.
and I've tried painting and colored pencils, but I just painting is just so fucking hard.
Yeah.
I don't have the control over the paint
uh,
like I want to with graphite, and yeah, it started off young, and I just always did it. And I just never. I don't remember not drawing, and I went, had art classes in school, and then high school. I had like art classes there too, and then I got up to advanced level 2, which is like the highest you can get,
uh,
and started doing a lot more stuff. And then I really wanted to go to art school, but my dad wouldn't let me. My mom, I don't think she cared, but my dad, didn't want me to go because he didn't think it was a real life or whatever, and didn't think I'd make any money in art. And so then my brother Chris said, "Well, why don't you go to like Ivy Tech, which is a local, Ivy Tech? Go for graphic design." I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "Well, it's like digital art." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I did that, and honestly, had my brother Chris not mentioned that, I didn't know what I would have done. And then I think, well, had I gone to art school, I may have a whole different life.
Yeah, no doubt.
For good or bad, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I may not have gotten into the comedy world. So.
Yeah, it's amazing when you look back at the different paths you've taken and what could have been.
Oh
And,
yeah,
yeah. But
man, I could have been happy. I really could have been.
So thinking about what's going on in the world with the COVID, are you doing any like virtual stuff like Zoom shows or anything like that, or are you just hunkering down and waiting for when you can go live again?
I've done 2 virtual shows. Both actually went really well.
Good.
I enjoyed them. And one of them, the first one I did, I think I desperately needed to do because it was like methadone to a heroin addict. I think, I hate to equate it like that, but that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
The comedy's a drug, and that really helped. And the host turned the audio off of the people watching, and all you could see was them like laughing.
Yeah.
But you couldn't hear it. But I had there was one particular woman in that show that I was like, she's laughing really well. So I made sure she was on my screen the whole time.
Yeah. That helps.
She was my barometer. So, and that helped. But yeah, and I did a corporate show, and they left the audio on, and I was like, oh, okay, both were good.
Yeah.
You learn a lot. Some I saw, some comics like to stand and have a mic and perform like an actual, like sort of a comedy show, but
yeah,
I'll just sit down.
Yeah.
I don't need to stand up. But I just sat down and did it in my room, my art room.
Right.
Oh, by the way, speaking of art and colorblind, when I was in high school, I was drawing. I had like an army cap. It was army green. And speaking of colorblind, so I drew it and colored it brown because olive green looks brown to me. And people are like, why did you color that brown? I was like, well, that's what it is. It's brown. And what are you, stupid? And they go, no, it's green. I go, what are you talking about? It's brown. So, and I knew I was colorblind, obviously, even then. But I was so adamant that this was brown. And the teacher came up and he's like, yeah, it's green, but it looks good. I'm like, okay.
Oh, I work with a guy that's colorblind, and we had a meeting this morning, and we put up a chart that had red, green, and yellow on it. and he's like, all I can see is the yellow.
No.
Yeah, the rest of it just looks like different shades of gray to me. So yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I do all my stuff in that type of color. It's funny how many comedians are artistic in other ways. And it makes me jealous because I always wanted to be artistic, and I wrote poetry. I tried music. I'm tone deaf, so I can't do that. I tried art, like, what you do. I mean, it just looks stupid, and I absolutely can't do it. And I'm jealous of people who can do that type of stuff. But comedy is such a different art from anything else. And I feel like, do you ever get tired of people saying, "Hey, I got a joke for you," or "Hey, say something funny," and stuff like that? Because I don't think comedy gets respected like the other arts. Do you ever get tired of that? And do you ever explain to people what it takes to make 5 minutes of comedy?
No, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't want they just want to get their joke heard,
Yeah.
They like the excitement of telling a comedian a joke, and whether they wrote it or not.
Yeah.
And, but then, I'll listen. I don't care. It's fine. I'll listen. And then I'll go, "Oh, that's funny." And they're like, "No, you can use that." I probably won't, but okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving me the option.
Right. No doubt.
But because a lot of those people are like fans that have heard of you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make anybody feel bad.
Right.
About, because they want to be a part of it. They want to know you. They want to make the comedian laugh. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to make anybody feel bad.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's nice of you.
Although years ago, the guy came up, and I don't know if he was homeless, but he came to the show, and it was very early on, but he comes up and he goes, "Hey, check that out." And it was a picture of a Far Side cartoon.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Is this all you got? So.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
So the thing I like to wrap up with is something I ask just about everybody. What 3 things do you know now as a comic that you wish you would have known when you started?
Ooh. Make sure the tape you send is the best one. As far as material goes, make sure don't half-ass it. What 3 things? I guess that's one of them. What 3 things do I wish I knew then? Basically, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
That's really hard. That's kind of hard. Right. Don't be afraid to try to get out of your own, because I was stuck in a box. I was stuck in like, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to dress. And don't be afraid to try different things on stage. There's a lot of that. And then also probably just work harder, in general, really put in the time, if you want something, go do it, go get it.
Yeah.
So I guess that'd be the three biggest things.
Okay.
But the main thing is don't be afraid, because I was always afraid of trying stuff. So.
Yeah, it's really hard when you get that 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour, and it works for you, and you just want to kind of live on that for a while, and because it works. But then on the other side, you get tired of saying it too, and so you need to do some new stuff. Yeah. Well,
when you're going to open mics, that's the time to screw around on stage.
Yeah.
Try a voice or a weird concept. Like years ago, I saw a guy he made these weird audible hums and weird like whatever, try it. It didn't get a laugh, but at least he tried it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm using the Zoom type mics to try out different stuff like characters. So you talked about standing up and sitting down. So sitting down, I've got Eugene from Smyrna, who's a conspiracy theorist and talking deep state and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of, I would compare it to some of Brent Terhun's videos. It's kind of in that vein. And then, except for I've got 2 kids, and they always get in my guns and shoot each other, and so it's a whole thing. But my favorite one was I do a comic called Richard K. Weed, who actually kidnapped me and says I have explosive diarrhea and just does really bad jokes, and the reaction to the jokes are probably better than the jokes, but I'm really enjoying doing that because I mean, you got nothing to lose. Maybe a couple people are watching on Facebook but yeah, it's a lot of fun messing with that. And it's actually easier to do it there than it is at an open mic. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So really, I just want to tell you, binge listening to the 2 albums that were on Spotify was very enjoyable for me. And
Thank you very much.
I think you do great work, and I wish you the most success, and I hope you come out of Corona still being able to book stuff, and comedy clubs come back in full force and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be good. I think it'll turn out great.
Yeah. Well, I had a real good talk. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Yeah.